Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to say, well, over here it's good evening. I think it's evening over there too, so it's not too late. But it's just an honor to be asked to do this, and hopefully I can do it justice. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself before we get started here. I used to play wide receiver for about 11 years in the CFL. Played for the Hamilton Ticats, Montreal Alouettes, and played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders from 2002 to 2009, and I retired in 2010. So I got 11. I always tell people I snuck in 11 years of playing football, and it was just an honor to do that in the CFL. And my passion comes from my parents. My dad going to games with him when I was younger, and then just always wanting to play. Back in 1999, I was just fortunate enough to win the Grey Cup. I was also up for Rookie of the Year. And then in 1999, I was also up for Eastern Rookie of the Year. And in 2002, which is probably one of my proudest awards that I really enjoy talking about, was in 2002 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I was able to get the Hard Hat Recipient Award. So that was awarded by the players, just about hard work and dedication. So as a player, for me, yes, I won Grey Cups, and in 2007, I was able to win a Grey Cup out in Saskatchewan too with the Roughriders. But that Hard Hat Award just means so much to me. It's just putting in that work, and your peers are looking at you and recognizing that. All right. So that's just a little bit of my playing background. And I think I use it. And the reason I talk about my playing background, because I try and use that as a coach for when I'm impressing upon things to my players and in my coaching style and my coaching philosophy. So my coaching philosophy, I coach football not because I love football. I coach because I love teaching and helping young men develop the skills necessary to succeed in life. My players are my passion. If football is to survive in the future, it is my responsibility to pass my knowledge on, to inspire my players and fellow coaches to carry on the traditions as were passed on to me. And in this day and age, that is so true. Just a little back, I ended up talking to my players yesterday and just talking to them, and we're going to take a little bit of time off for meetings. But I also found it was very important that we are going to meet going into the future until we get back onto the field. And it's about keeping that camaraderie. It's about learning football, talking about it, and developing the life skills that we want to pass on to these young men. And I think football is a great platform for that. And just because we have this time off, I think as coaches, we should all be doing that, and reaching out, and these clinics are great things. All right. Just a little bit of my background. I started in 2005 to 2010 coaching the Niagara Junior Spears as offensive coordinator. So I was coaching and playing at the same time. Then I was a wide receiver coach at McMaster. Ended up as a varsity coach for the Halton Cowboys in 2013 and the director of football operations. And after that, I was able to move on. And in 2013 till I think about 2019, I was able to coach with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I was a running back coach, and I was by the end, assistant offensive coordinator. And in this past year was just my first year as being offensive coordinator for the McMaster Marauders. It has been a long journey, but I've enjoyed every step and learned a lot. I've always thought that I was ready to be an offensive coordinator. And then I went in a room and sat down with one of my mentors, Tommy Condell, who I was with in Saskatchewan, and he was my receiver coach and offensive coordinator. And I realized I didn't know anything. And in 6 months with him, with the Ticats, I learned so much. So I take a lot of these philosophies and a lot of these things I take from him, and I appreciate him. And I even talked to him, I think yesterday, because he was checking in on me. So with that being said, let's get started. That's my background here, but let's get started in talking about wide receivers. So let's see if I can share my screen here. And please, as Coach said, if you have questions, please ask, and I'll answer them right there and then. All right, so more, share screen. I don't see it up here, but I'm going to move it up here. Microsoft, hold on a second, trying to find it. That one. Oh, the fun stuff of computers. Oh, there it is. That's why, because it's hanging off the side of my computer. There it is. All right, so just talking, I just wanted to start off with coaching the receiver. All right. Jerry Rice, growing up, he was the man. He was the one I wanted to be like, to emulate my game after, and learning about his work ethic and the things that he did. I just wanted to be him. I wanted to be him, and if not be better than him. And he said, a quote from him I got was, "The absolute worst thing a receiver can do is worry about not catching the ball or about getting hit. A receiver's job is to catch the football. That is their job." So when we talk about our guys and we talk to our guys and we're recruiting guys, it's catch the ball. And I catch myself sometimes, and the coaches are always saying that to me. I'll be yelling out to them, to the receivers, if they drop a ball or anything like that, catch the ball. Sometimes we have to remember, how do we catch the ball? How do we do our hands? How do we position our hands? So those are some things I want to make sure I cover today. So some basic fundamentals of catching the football. All right. Catching the ball, key fundamentals for wide receivers, whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned professional. All right. It doesn't matter. Our job is to catch the ball. We are to receive the ball. So there's some different type of catches that I want to go over, and then I'll show you some film about it and talk about how we work them in practice. One of the catches is a ball right over right at the wide receiver, low ball, a high ball, over the shoulder, the dreaded in-between ball. And this one, I say it's the dreaded in-between ball because we never are quite sure how we should position our hands and what we should be doing. All right, so we'll talk about those things. Those are some of the catches. All right. First thing that we start off with is focus and framing the football. All right, and that's at all levels. Whether I'm coaching at pros, whether I'm coaching Pee Wee football, we want to focus, and I talk about framing the football. Talk to the guys. My initial conversation with them is focus. It's the eyes. We catch the ball with our eyes. All right, we have to make sure a lot of the times, and the reason for our drops is that I've noticed over the years is that the reason guys drop the balls is because they take their eyes off the ball. All right. So we got to make sure as we're doing that, we're talking the fundamentals, watching the ball all the way into our hands. So anytime you're watching a player and you're watching them catch the ball, or if you're catching out, I catch outside with my son all the time and doing those things, eyes. Make sure you're watching the ball all the way from the catch to the tuck. Catch to the tuck. Take out my hands. Okay. And what I like to use and like to start off working with is what I call the looking glass or diamond. A lot of the times, and especially with coaching, I like to have catchphrases that the guys can understand quickly, and I can say it and I can communicate a lot of different things with one word, or as little words as possible. So for us, it'll be the looking glass or diamond. All right. As we're doing that and we're going through the looking glass, we're talking about thumbs and index fingers together. All right. So we want to make sure that our thumbs are together and then our index fingers are together. I always talk to them. We can start off with touching them. And I've been fortunate enough to work with Coach Potasic. He would actually cross his fingers. So he would cross his index fingers and almost have them going over top of each other. My hands are a little bit smaller, and I like to have them just a little bit apart. All right, and everybody has to get comfortable as your athletes, you're coaching your players, what they're comfortable with. Okay, but we want to make sure that they're in that diamond shape and creating that diamond figure right there. I always talk about with the diamond shape, our eyes are on the tip of the ball. So different drills that we do is we can either put an X on the front or tape an X on the front of the nose of the football, or as we're doing the different drills, laces up, down, or to the side. Okay. And I always tell them, let's look through the looking window. All right, the looking window, diamond, looking glass, different things, different keywords that they can relate to. Okay. The next thing that we do is talk about with the looking glass is framing the football. All right, is making sure we're framing the football. So when we talk about framing the football, eyes are focused on the tip. All right, eyes are focused on the tip of the ball. In practice, as I said before, with doing that, sometimes I'll put tape over the tip of the ball. You can use the laces. The laces also help too if you don't want to put tape on your balls or mark up your balls. And doing that, it still gets them the focus. Framing the ball, we want to make sure thumb and index fingers are together, all right, or slightly apart. Catching the balls with our fingers. When we're catching the ball with our fingers, what helps us do, one of the things is we won't hear that big slap. Keeps us from having flat palms and then decreases the chances of us dropping the ball or not catching the ball. Okay. And then the last part is always looking to catch the ball away from the body. Anytime I'm talking to my players, reaching out and catching the ball away from my body. If we let the ball get into our body, that's when we get more chances of dropping the football. Tackle football is one thing, especially when we're doing it. If you do catch it in your body, it knocks off. It can bounce off with a hit. In flag football, when we're coaching that, we still want to take it off of our body, because if we're going to catch it outside of our body and outside of our frame, now we're going to get the ball and then be pulling it back in. And that's how we talk about framing the ball every time, looking through our looking glass, doing our best to do that. Okay. Click here. All right, as you can see, this player right here, one of our Marauders players in a game, it's a rainy game, and it didn't matter whether it was rain, sun, or shine, it still became the same exact things. Catching the ball, you can see his hands out in front. Thumbs are coming together with your index finger slightly apart. His eyes are focused on the tip of that football. All right, and he's looking to do that. Next picture. Eyes focused on the tip. Okay. Thumbs and index fingers coming close together. So it's the exact same thing. Pro level, university level, amateur level. These are the look-fors. As coaches, and I've learned over the years, is we always have to, there's so much always going on, and we're told a lot of different things. What are some of the look-fors that we want to have so that we can correct our athletes as quickly as possible? All right. And you can see here just another picture of another one of our guys doing the exact same thing. And this is a game picture, right? This is a game picture, and you can see his focus, and he's locked in on the football, right? Has those key things. Another picture here from a pro. And this isn't practice. This is in the heat of a battle and the heat of a game. Okay. This is one of my favorite pictures, and it's about focus, right? We're in the end zone. We're about to make that catch, but we're still sticking to our fundamentals. Coach, how do we get to those fundamentals? One of the ways, especially for this catch right here, and the focus is the tunnel drill. And at the end, I will talk about a few of the drills that we do, but this is why it's so important. We're still working those fundamentals. Still working those fundamentals. You can see his fingers and his thumbs coming together, right? He's looking through his window, through the diamond or his looking glass, and he's focused on that football. There is a player right there in the end zone trying to knock that ball down, but if we're locked on those things and we're focused, our players are going to make that catch. All right. So some key points. Eyes focused on the tip of the ball. All right, catching the ball straight on. Thumbs and fingers close together. Making sure we're catching the ball with our fingertips. Catch the ball, catch the front of the ball. All right. Catch the ball out in front of the body. All right, so as we are going through catching, these are some of the things that I continuously harp on my players about. If I see a drop, instead of me just yelling at them, and I will yell at them for fun, but when we are doing things and we are in drills, instead of just yelling at them, catch the damn ball, we talk about what do we need to do? Were your eyes on the ball? Were your eyes on the tip of the ball? Where were you looking? And those different things. Did you let the ball come into your body? So they know these key points that I'm going to look at as a coach, and then they can self-correct. Coach, I took my eyes off of it. Coach, my hands weren't in the right position. Coach, I let it get into my body. And then they start to learn these things, and then all of a sudden they're correcting themselves and they're correcting each other. All right. All right. And we talk about framing the football. Okay. The next type of catch that I want to go over before we get into the film is low ball catch. All right. With a low ball catch, I talk about putting our pinkies come together. Fingers are spread apart. Elbows. Elbows are coming together. That is one of the keys on low ball catches as coaches and coaching that I've seen time and time again, and I always call it the three-pointer. Guys a lot of the times have their elbows apart, and when their elbows go apart when they're going down for the ball, it's a big basket. And that's, if the ball hits their hands, it absolutely has a better chance of it going through that. If their elbows are together and their pinkies are together, if it does hit their hands, then they have an opportunity to curdle that ball into their body if their elbows are together. If their elbows are apart, if it hits their hand and bounces, a lot of times it goes straight through. All right, so low ball catches is making sure our pinkies are together. And I always go back to how do we catch the ball? With our eyes. So their eyes and head should be dropping. So you can see here, eyes focused on the ball. Defender is there. Low catch, it's going low. He's reaching out for it. So he's bringing his pinkies together. All right. His fingers are spread apart, which is absolutely amazing. Right there. And now you can see his elbows are coming together. A lot of times we'll keep these apart, and now our elbows are here. If it hits, it goes straight through. He brings his elbows together. He's able to make that catch. Okay, so those are some of the keys that I want to cover as we watch some low ball throws. Okay. Key coaching points, making sure, again, eyes focused on the ball. Head drops to look at the ball all the way in. If we always go back to catching the ball with our eyes, then we're going to look at all the way in, all the way into the tuck. All right. When we're dealing with a low catch, we're making sure our pinkies come together. Okay. Fingers are spread apart and elbows are coming together. Okay. So those are some of the more common ones. Now we get into the fun ones here. And over the years, they've changed for me, and it'll always be a discussion for coaches. So maybe we can get a little bit of a discussion for it later when this is done, but on catching the high ball. All right. A lot of times with catching the high ball, again, everything always goes back to the player's eyes, right? If we catch the ball and we talk about, we catch the ball with our eyes, and if they understand that, they'll always be looking the ball in. Okay. Anytime we have a high ball catch, we do want to make sure that the player's head is going up and they are looking at the ball. All right. A lot of times you'll see a player try and catch the ball, and when they go to catch the ball, their hands go up, but their eyes stay straight, right? So we want to make sure that their eyes are going up and their head is going back with it so that they're focused with the ball. Always going back to catching the ball with our eyes. Some ways that you can do that too is just to make sure if you have stripes on your helmets or put tape on the helmet, you can see it through that. All right. And just making sure what position their head is going in. When we're catching the ball, obviously, again, pinky fingers together. All right. Our index fingers coming close together. Like I said, Coach Potasic does this, which I thought was different, but it's effective because he's one of the greatest receivers in U Sport history. Myself, I come out here. Okay. But it is what your players are comfortable with. We always want to make sure within our drills, and I'll talk about the drills a little bit later, we catch the ball at the highest point. So we want to make sure that we're going up and catching that ball and catching it away from our body. Because you can see, like in this picture, if we let this ball come into our body, then the DB is going to actually end up knocking the ball out. All right. So we want to make sure we're catching the ball away from our body. Anytime we are catching a high ball, we want to make sure we go up, we're catching it, we secure it strongly, and then we call it a gator roll, where then we rip it away. All right, so I want to give the guys a visual of what they need to do in our meetings and different things like that. I would show an alligator taking something into the water, and anytime we call it the gator roll, would go up, and then that alligator rips that animal underneath the water with them. And so as a player, you're going to catch the high ball, you're focused on it, and as you focus on it and you're strong with your hands, now you want to take it and rip it into your body, all right, and call it the gator roll. A lot of times what DBs are taught is to punch up and knock it out. So the gator roll now prevents that. And when they go to punch up, you're actually bringing the ball in strongly and ripping and twisting their arm inside yours and bringing it to your body. So it helps in that from them punching it out. Okay. All right. You can see here, one of my receivers now, this was 3rd and 3. We called a run play. The quarterback pulled it on an RPO and threw it. And, you can see it's Western down there, and threw it the ball. And if he handed it off, we would have been all right. But it's always RPO. It's his decision. And he went up and threw this thing to our. And Tommy's one of our better receivers, if not our best receiver. And he went up and got this and pulled it out of the air. But coming back and seeing the picture, I would critique him. And he's like, I didn't have this in film. You could see here, he's going up and he makes this catch, and he's a good player. I would just ask him to get his eyes up so he could watch it all the way to the tuck. He knows these guys are coming, and then gator roll and rip it apart and rip it down. All right. He's confident enough in his hands to go and make that catch, which I'm okay with, but I would still critiquing him, get your eyes up and make sure you got your eyes, because we're catching that ball with our hands. All right. We'll worry about the hit later. Okay. Another one here. This is him, and you can see right now, catching it away from our body, going to get it at its highest point in a game situation. He's focused on the tip of the ball, and he's catching that ball away from his body. All right, and he's very successful. He's one of our better deep ball catchers. All right. The picture after this that I would get him on, which I didn't include, was he didn't look it all the way into the tuck. Right, which is coaches, I would go, okay, he's caught the ball, that's perfect, but I want him to strive for greatness. Right, not just be good, but to strive for greatness. So to make sure as he's doing that, rip it down, gator roll it out if a defender's there, but always look it all the way into the tuck. Right, guys tend to have a tendency of taking their eyes off of it, and that's when it gets punched out or gets fumbled, or if they look away too quick, they end up batting the football down instead of catching it. Okay. All right, this is the catch I would like to hear people's opinion on, if I can get them, is over the shoulder catch. All right. I've been fortunate enough to work with many different coaches, and June Jones, who was with us, who's the run and shoot guru, had the receivers and showed us a different way to catch a deep ball with some of his coaches. I've always been taught over the shoulder. I teach it still, but he does have a philosophy on that, and I will share that in a moment. So one of the biggest things that I like to talk about when tracking the ball, obviously we're going to track it with our eyes. Pinky fingers, anytime it's over the shoulder, we're going to have our pinky fingers together. All right, have our pinkies come together, nice wide fingers, and having them spread. And it's no different than the low ball. I like to have it high and tight, but have my elbows come together. All right, again, if my elbows are apart, what happens is if I don't catch it or if it hits my hands, it has a tendency to go right through, or if I misjudge the throw. If our elbows are together, now when the ball comes over my shoulder, it could hit my forearms, and it gives me another chance to catch the ball. Okay, it gives me another chance to catch the ball. All right. The key for me, and I think this is where when I was talking with Coach Jones about, and that discussion was high hands above the eyes. All right. And when I talk about hands above the eyes, a lot of times when guys are catching the ball, and if my hands are above my eyes, I can then see it because I'm catching it, the ball with my eyes. I can see it hit my hands. A lot of times when my hands go lower and they're below my eyes, now when I'm tracking the ball, I lose sight of my hands. And that results in a lot of times of guys dropping the ball. So as they're running and they're going to go shoot up their late hands, If their hands are above their eyes or that eye plane, now they can see their ball and catch their hands in the periphery, and it's almost like they're bringing the ball right to their hands, right? If their hands are below, now they're looking down here, and now they're going to shoot their hands out, and it's just a little bit too much, and that's a lot of times where I find where that disconnect comes, and that's where a lot of the drops, I feel that's where a lot of the drops happen, all right, with players. And I as players, and as a former player, you remember the good, but you remember the bad more. I remember and I have the Grey Cup tickets, so the Grey Cup that was in Sask, and we lost in Edmonton, and we threw it deep to me, and I said, Coach, I got this, and I let the ball go below and we're in Edmonton going away from the big scoreboard, and I let it cross my plane, I let the ball hit the ground, right? Because I lost that tracking. So I learned from experience. There you go. That's my last Sask story. This next one you can see right here in warm-up. So in warm-up, we work our drills right here. So this is when we were with the Ticats. We work our drills of catching the ball over the shoulder, high hands, looking at it, coming into his hands. You can see where his hand placement is, and you can see it's above the plane. We get in a game, and we get the exact same thing. High hands here, all right, high hands, and he can feel his hands in the periphery, and now he's going to attack the ball and go get it. Okay. And you can see right there, bang, elbows are together. He doesn't catch it cleanly in the fingertips, and it could be, I think it was a cold day because it's a playoff game. But you can see it hit his fingertips, and because his elbows are together, now it'll hit his hands, and then he'll be able to bring it right into his body and make that catch. If his elbows were too wide apart and he doesn't catch it clean, now the chances of falling straight to the ground are increased. All right, and you can see from this picture with his eyes here, hands above the plane, now his eyes are transferring to the ball, his elbows are coming together right here. All right, and he makes that catch. Now, I just want to say with Coach June Jones, which I did like too, his philosophy was on those deep balls, and he showed tons of film to back that, was to actually go up and attack the ball and reach up and attack it. So he would say, go up and attack that ball, looking back at his shoulders. And instead of waiting for it to come over your shoulders to make that catch, he would say, open up, attack it, and go up and get it at its highest point. And that's what he taught at SMU and at Hawaii. And he taught with us at the Cats. And I did like that too. I found that a lot of times when they did go up and attack it like that, instead of waiting for it to drop in, now you're not waiting for it. You're meeting it with our philosophy of meeting it at its highest point. You're going to get it and then ripping it out of the sky and then taking off. All right. So that was another way to catch and work catching a deep ball. And I'm not sure if I have it here, but we do have a player, and I was the same type of guy as him, so I understood that. For some reason, some players have difficulties catching the ball, judging the deep ball, and watching it come overhead. I was a framer, so I'd like to go out and frame the ball and put it everywhere in my hands. So for those guys that you find judging the ball and having difficulty doing it, I would say teach them that method where they're running, and if they can get up underneath it, going back up and reaching up and going to get it. Now, there are different times where the ball's way out in front of them and they got to keep pumping their arms and then reach out and go get it. But for guys where the ball is just dropping in from that high angle, I found it helpful to say, okay, go up, get it, because he was a framer. So that's just understanding your player. Okay, so some key points. Track the ball with your eyes. Pinky fingers come together. Obviously spread, elbows together. High hands, which I believe is a key in this. Hands above the eyes, and then going from there. So really, one of my questions would be, has anybody else taught that go up and get it on a deep ball, or has it always been over the shoulder and catch? That's what I've been taught. That's what I've taught, but I did understand those things, and it did make sense when I watched it on film, and that was one of their big things. Okay. Some common mistakes. Catching the ball over the shoulder. All right. You can see here, his eyes are on the ball, all right? But what do we talk about? Elbows together. His elbows are apart. So right here, it's too wide. The other part is, you can tell, right, the difference is he has low hands. All right, we want to make sure that we have high hands. He has low, his hands are very low right here. You can see right here, he's still looking up, hasn't transferred his eyes like the other individual. Low hands. So now he's having that disconnect between tracking that ball to his hands here, as opposed to going here and trying to find his hands as he drops his eyes, right? So his eyes are there. The ball now, he lets it cross the plane of his eyes, like I like to say. And then his eyes are closed, right? And there's the ball. And I believe in this game, he got one of these throws and he dropped it. And I think this one might have been dropped too, right? But those were just some of the keys. And we wouldn't have seen this if we didn't get this picture to why he was having issues catching the ball at the time and catching the deep ball. An individual like this would have been one of two things that we could have corrected, was higher hands and work on him doing that with the deep ball. Or if at that time, which I didn't have that knowledge, would have said, okay, get underneath it because he was fast. And if you can go up and grab it out of the sky and frame it, that might have helped him. Okay, so that is just some ways to help correct your players with catching the football, especially receivers. Our receivers' job is to catch the ball, so we want to make sure we're giving them those tools to catch the ball, especially the deep ball. The next one is the dreaded, and I put the dreaded in between because it's, coach, how do I catch the ball when it's right at that midsection level and it's not high, it's not right at me so I can frame it, it's not below my waist so I can put my pinky fingers, it's not over my shoulder, it's in that midsection in between, right? And if we're talking about it, we want to stay consistent, and we're talking about going to get the ball and reaching out and getting the football, then that in between, we want to stay away from letting it come into our body. All right, so if it's above the waist, obviously we're here. If it's below the waist, we're there. But if it's in that target area, that's the dreaded position. What I do like to say to players is if we can bend down and then frame that football, that is perfect. That's what we want to do, and make sure we're reaching out to our body, from our body, to go get it in that midsection. All right, to keeping it away from our body. So then now they're gonna have to bend their knees and go down almost like they're taking a picture. The older coaches, or us older coaches, it's like you're taking that Polaroid picture. I know they're using their phones now, or even with we got to get down and take those pictures and get down there. They can reach down and frame the football. If it's right there below the waist, then I would say go get it with your pinkies. If it's above and you can get down, then get it with your hands. Again, at times, it becomes one of those things. It's going to get into their bodies and they're going to have to suck it in, which is okay, but we always want to get into a mindset of getting that ball out in front of us. Okay. All right. So one of the drills that we do to hit all of these different throws, I think every coach does it, and we still do it, and we still do it in practice, is the freeze drill. And how we set it up is I'll set up the players just like this in a line. We'll have either the quarterback or a coach throwing at them. And we'll start with the quarterback throwing it right at their chest. All right, throwing it right at their chest. Now you can see right now with your athletes the throw, where it is, and you tell the quarterback, so the quarterback can work on their stuff with their drops and their accuracy, hitting the player right in the chest. So we'll start this, and this is one of the drills that we do. Then we'll ask for the quarterback to do a low throw. So now that we can see the pinkies coming together and we can talk about those things, we know as coaches the look for us for it. And then we also know some language that we can talk to our players about. Elbows together, pinkies, reach out. Also, I'd like to say with the freeze drill, we're always running and having our arms moving and pumping. And as they're moving and pumping, then we'll always take a step back to the football. Okay. The third one I'll ask for is the ball to go above their head. So now I can see them catching the ball and tilting their head back. I want to see them tilting their head back and going back up to catch the ball. I will then ask them to grab it and gator roll it. All right, and then gator roll it. Okay. The last one would be over the shoulder. We'll do it on both sides. And we'll put the player here. And now we're throwing over the shoulder. They're just doing a 5-yard run. And they're watching the ball come into their hands. You can see their hands go up and then drop in. Okay, and then drop in just from there. Then the last one I will have them do is throw off center, right to the left or to the right, outside the player's body, and seeing how their hands are adjusting. If it's high, they reach out and go and get it. If it's low, then they open their pinky fingers and go and get that, and they step to the ball. Anytime we're doing these drills, we're always stepping to the ball, reaching out, catching it away. So those are some keys that we want to make sure. And the one thing, and my son is 9, and I get on him, anytime we're doing these drills, we always want to make sure if they're stepping back to the ball, they turn upfield, because these throws right now are acting as if they are going to the quarterback on curl routes. So as they step back and catch it, I will ask for them to give me a shake and then turn upfield, or a shake and then turn upfield on the freeze drill. So we're here, we step, we go get it, and then we fake and then turn upfield. We are paid to score touchdowns. We turn upfield to score touchdowns, and then we get the ball back. If they catch the ball and then just throw it back to the quarterback or walk back to the quarterback, I let them know if you want to be a DB, they're down there on the other side. Our job is to catch the ball and get upfield. So we work those little things every single time we're catching the ball. To reiterate, we're looking to turn 60 into 60, 60 into 6 into 60 every single time we touch the ball. Okay. Here it is again, framing the ball, boom, boom, boom. He does a good job. And this is warm up, right? And it's all the way to the tuck. This is warm up and it's all the way to the tuck. As we talk about receivers, what are some look fors for us, and what are we trying to evaluate, and how are we trying to get them? All right, what are we trying to do for receivers? They got to have good hands. All right, we want to. It's important for a receiver to have good hands. If they don't have good hands, then it's tough to call them a receiver. But we have the skills that we can use to work on, and the tools. All right, look for players who can catch the ball away from their body instead of letting it get into their pads. What is more likely to be mishandled? All right, so if it's above the waist, hands up. Below the waist, pinkies together, hands down. All right. Just like anything, many world-class spinners have failed to make it because they couldn't consistently hold onto the football. At times, we always want to have the fastest kid or the fastest guy be that receiver. But we have to make sure that we're always working on their receiver skills. All right, working on those receiver skills, because the speed without the skills or the speed without catching the ball, they're no good to us. All right, they're not good at that receiver position. And even for myself, there have been many receivers who have gone into great careers because they possess nothing better than average speed, but caught everything thrown to them. A guy that I played with was Ben Calhoun. I don't think he dropped anything. Andy Fantus is another one. I've coached Tasker there, Luke Tasker. There's just so many of them that I've played with, and they didn't have that breakaway speed or that great speed, but they caught everything and they were reliable for the quarterbacks. All right, and the quarterbacks were reliable with them. All right, and trusted them. All right, and confidence. One of the things you got to have is confidence, right? And as coaches, that's our job, to build up our players is with confidence. And the only way they're going to get better at catching the ball and working it is for us coaches to work those drills and to do those different things so that they get that confidence, and it becomes that belief. All right, so those are the things I feel in football, and especially as a receiver. And then in the last thing, listen, in the end, just catch the ball, man. Like, in the end, it is just about catching the football, right? And it may not be pretty. It's just catch the ball, right? By any means necessary. When the ball is thrown to the guys, and I tell them, when we get on that paint and we get in that end zone, it doesn't matter to me if you catch it with your toes, your feet, it doesn't matter. Catch the ball. It's the most important thing. Catch the ball by any means. On that paint, if you got a body catch it and fall down, I let them know that too. Because in the end, we want to make sure we're receiving that ball because we're receivers. Okay. So there's that. I'm going to, can I stop sharing here and go to the other screen? Coach, I'm going to go to, let me see, to some film here so we can see my guys here catch some footballs. Is there any questions or anything while I'm here? Are we still good?
Yeah, coaches, if you do have questions, you can go ahead and get them into the chat as Coach Grant is transitioning to the film. Coach, I've got a question.
Yep.
The best receivers that I've worked with throughout the years are always doing something when they're catching the ball. And what I mean by that is they could just be catching it for the quarterbacks, on the sideline or pre-practice, or just, playing catch on their own, but they're always bouncing or they're always moving their arms. They're never standing static and catching the ball and throwing it back. Is that something that you emphasize with your guys, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so even like I said, when we're doing that freeze drill, they're on their toes. They're on their toes. They're always moving. They're always pumping their arms, because it's very rare that they're just standing there and catching the ball. So they're always pumping their arms. We always have them doing that. We always have them moving. The other part is they're always stepping back and attacking the ball. That is my big thing. And always looking to tuck it and then turn upfield. Even when they're warming up with the quarterbacks at the beginning of practice, I'll get on them, because once they cross the line, I said, if you guys want to go play catch at the beach, you can go do that. We're on the football field. It is our job to catch the ball, and they're always working on those fundamentals. They're always working on those fundamentals. So yeah, the great ones are always bouncing. They're always, and they always have a ball in their hand at some point in time on the field and working on their different skills.
And then back to the early part of the presentation, when you were talking about catching with your eyes, is there anything in particular that you do to teach catching with the eyes for those that may have missed that at the start?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is, like I said, that freeze drill. So either one of two things. We can, if we don't want to mark up the footballs, the big thing is I will have them, when they're catching the ball, tell us if the laces are up, down, or to the side. Right? So that's the easiest way to do it. And all they have to do is, as soon as they're warming up, down, side. So now I know their eyes are always focused on that football. So that's a good one. If it's just you got a football and you put tape on the nose of it and you can make a cross, they can focus on that too. I've also seen other ones where they put different stickers on it and different things like that. Right? So the guys are really focused on that. The easiest one, though, I feel, is just up, down, or to the side. Hit the ball.
Fantastic. Thanks, Coach.
No problem. Coach, let me know if you can see my 360 here.
Yep, I can see it in the small screen right now.
Okay, I'm gonna make it big. All right. Oh, geez, it's looking good. All right, let's see if this works. All right, so the first one I just want to do is I just want to go over, and I just want to make sure I have them here. So we'll just go through some of the low catches that we have here. All right. So first one, and I'll just see if I can speed it up for us. Right, so, and I'll get to the receiver that it's gonna go to. So we're gonna watch, ooh, I get to draw. I haven't done this one. Okay, so we're gonna watch this receiver right here, and we'll see him work the low catch. You can see right here, as he's going, he's facing the ball, he's there, now it's below. So you can see him, pinkies are coming together, and I know it's tough to see here, but you can see his hands below his waist, hands coming together, elbows together. All right, hands together, pinkies together, elbows together. Right here, he's going here. Now Tommy, and even here, as he's going to get it, you can see him here, he's going to clamp down on this thing. So he's feeling it, and he's a taller guy. I was thinking of his in-between ball. So that's why he's going down to clamp down on that thing and make that catch and try and frame it with his eyes. So there's one there. The next one right here is this receiver right here. Okay, catching a low ball. Going up, coming out of his break. And you can see him go down. Hands are coming down, pinky's going down, coming out of his break, and then going down and getting it. I think I should shoot him because he ran too short, but that's okay. He's going down, goes down and picks up that good catch. Great. We're going to focus on, and I'm going to go to the back side of this. It'll be this receiver right here. As he's going across, right? And he's going to come across into your screen. And he drops the ball, right? He doesn't get to it. So right now I'm asking him, he's right here, but go down and get the football, right? We're in a game here. The ball's here. It's not perfect. Now, one of two things. Go down, extend your hands and go down and get it and reach out and pick up that ball. Last one here. Okay. Watching right here. So just like how we saw that other receiver not go down and get it, this gentleman was reason right here, catching the football, right? Our job is to receive the ball. So go down, and he does a great job of it. Look at his eyes right here, going down. Eyes are on it, going down and going to pick up that football for us. And that's crucial. That was important. Okay. So now I just want to talk about a few high throws that we have here. So this is our fullback, and he's going to go make this catch right here. You can see right, and I know it's tough to see, but you can just watch him go up, and you can see his hands go up, his head goes up, and he goes and pulls that thing down. I think I can see it better from the back end. There's our tight end. He's coming around, and he's going up. You can see his head go up, and I'll let it play. Head go up, and he goes and pulls that ball down. Right there, and goes and pulls that down. What's this one? Couple more. All right, another high ball going to this receiver down here. It's here, going up, pulling down. This is probably one. I thought he broke his neck, but it's a great catch by him. Great catch and finish. We always talk about 60 and a 60. O-line messes up, which is awesome. Quarterback makes a play, goes up, and you can see that receiver coming across in the screen, going up, grabbing that ball, and pulling it down. I just want to get to a couple more. This one right here is an over-the-shoulder catch. So it'll be this receiver down here. And I'll go to the back screen. So he'll be over here. And as I'm doing this and putting the presentation together and putting some film cut-ups together, I said, our worst thing is catching the ball over the shoulder. Right? And when you're in the heat of battle, you don't really think of those things. It becomes one of those things as a coach, you just start yelling, catch the ball. But it became one of our things. So in practices, as coaches, we needed to recognize that more and make sure we were working on that. So you can see here, he throws it up and he goes up. Now, whether he's worried about anybody else, my thing was, this is almost like the June Jones, where a lot of times we would wait for it to come in over top and catch it over the shoulder. He does a good job of stop, drop, go up and get it. But he's got to come under balance with 2 feet right here, put his right foot in the ground, and then jump up and go attack that football. Got all my Winnipeg guys here. We'll be watching this receiver here. He'll be going across the middle and going deep. So there he goes right down the middle. It's going over his shoulder. And right here, he's already putting his hands out to catch the ball. So as we go through these things, we want to make sure we're, like Coach was saying, we want to make sure we're pumping our arms until the last second and then shooting them out to go get the ball over our shoulders. I think if he does 1-2 more pumps, then it drops in over top of his shoulders. He just misses it. One, I know he pushes off. I mean, he creates separation. And right here, if he pumped his arms, and what we would talk about is late hands, all right? You'll see a better view of it here. He creates separation, which is awesome. He'll come into the screen. You can see right here, he's already stopped running for the football. Keep running through the football, get your hands out later, and then I would ask him to get his hands up higher, which he does. He does a good job of getting his hands up high. I just think if he was pumping one more pump and then got them up high, he makes this catch in the Yates Cup, and he just missed it.
Now, Coach, along with that one there, that
Yep,
brings up a good opportunity to talk about the two types of over-the-shoulder catches. So
yep,
your James Jones example,
yep,
do you, in your mind, because you've coached them both, do you
yep.
think one or the other allows a little bit more freedom and mobility to adjust to the ball late, whether it's, keeping the hands high and in front
Yep.
or torquing back to attack the ball?
So, great question. One, first and foremost, I always let the players decide what they're comfortable with. Myself, I would, if I had learned the June Jones way earlier, I'm a framer. So it allowed me to make sure I was running, keeping my arms pumping that much longer because I knew that I had to shoot them to go and attack the football. At times, what I would find out with when you do over the shoulder, a lot of things you'll see with players is they start the mummy run now, and now that slows them down. So the June Jones keeps my arms pumping, because then I know I got to use that to shoot and go get it. And then I can open my shoulders and adjust to the ball. As I'm going over the shoulders, one of the difficulties with that is as I'm judging the football, sometimes if it's over this back shoulder, when I do this, now I don't find my hands, but if it's the June Jones, now when I do that, I'm always seeing my hands go after the ball. So does that help? Does that answer your question there?
It does, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's what your players prefer, because even when we do our bad ball drill, we'll do this and track the ball. And I probably lost you guys on the screen, but we'll track the ball like this. Some coaches will teach whip your head around and then go find it. I was a track the ball and try and fall out underneath it and let it fall into me. Some guys were good enough. If they whip their head around, you just got to tell them when they whip their head, they have to step that way and step to the ball. Okay. Which one is this one? Okay. This one's a great catch by this young man right here. And I think this will, right here, he goes up and he's covered and he is not tall at all. All right. So he's going to be on your screen right here. Quarterback shouldn't have threw it to him, but he believes in his guys. Don't do that to me now. Good old electronics. We'll see. That's okay. He does a good job of going up and picking that ball up out of the air, and he goes up and he attacks it and catches that at its highest point. So I'll let this reboot. Let me see. So it's right here. So he does a good job. He's right here. I'm going to go to the back end of it. Yes, and he came out too low out of his break and all that, but I'm not going to get him on that right now. So he does a good job, and you'll see him pop into the screen right here. Right, and he's one of our shorter receivers, but he is a wily vet, and he goes up and he attacks that thing. And he ended up attacking it and then bringing that in. Okay, I'll show you a couple more. These ones right here are, and that's our boy Levi down here. I have to make sure he got in there. He does a good job, and he's really good, but you can see him framing the football, so I don't know where he learned that from, but playing out there out west. But he does a really good job framing the football and then getting upfield. Receiver right here down at the bottom, framing the football and then getting upfield. Opening up his hips, framing it, looking it in, and then getting upfield out of the backfield. Here's one here, and he drops the ball at the very top. He drops the ball right here. And what his issue was, and he was one of the ones, he struggled a little bit with the deep ball, but as he's going up, he takes his eyes off the ball and worries about the sideline instead of making the catch. And that's where I talk about making sure that we're catching the ball with our eyes. So as he goes up, he sees that ball, frames it, and then makes that catch. But instead, he ends up going up, trying to frame it, and then knocks it down. Just want to show you guys another catch. All right, we're going to throw to this gentleman right here, right in the middle. He does a good job right here, coming across the middle, and now he's framing that football, right? Does a really good job of framing that football. I'll show you a couple of in-between catches. So we'll look at the receiver number 2 at the bottom. It'll be right here at the bottom. He should be number 2 receiver. Yeah, he should be our number 2 receiver. So this is where we have our in-between ball. And these are one of the things he needed to work on. He feels like it's in between, and he's trying to bend down to frame it, so he's not quite sure. So for him and this athlete right here, and we saw him earlier on in the video where he tried to go down and he caught the ball over the middle, is that in between. And I would just tell him right here, take a step forward. So that would be our drill where we take our step forward in the freeze drill, step out and go and attack that football. He lets it get into his body, and then we have issues. And he's got long arms. Okay. One more of these. All right, so we have an in-between. We're watching number 14 slide there. He's got a sort of an in-between. He knows he's in traffic. He feels it's below his body, but he still gets his hands out in front of his body to go get it and then brings it in. And that was his chance to score his first touchdown in his 4th year. Okay. So those are just a few of the clips. Stop sharing there with how we take what we do in practice and what we talk about and how we take them and put them into a game situation. Any questions with that catching? Coach, do I have more time to go through one play or? Oh, lost you.
You do have more time if you want to go through another play.
Yeah, if
and then we
wants
can
to
get to some questions, sure.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions with that, that's really the catching portion of it. What we teach and some drills that we do. I know I should have my tennis ball here. Some different things that have them doing now because of social distancing, and I know it might be different and they can't work. They're not allowed to be together, but I know they're throwing, is if you have a ball or if guys have tennis balls, and if this was my tennis ball, I would hold this hand on top, this one on bottom, drop the tennis ball, and then try and get this hand underneath to catch the ball and just working on quickness. And then I would switch it, drop it, and then try and get this hand underneath. And then just doing different things. I would, if I had a ball here and the wall is here, throwing it back over my shoulder and catching the tennis ball. Throwing it over the shoulder, catching the tennis ball, having the tennis ball in front of me, whipping it at the wall, and then just framing it and catching it, throwing it low, catching it, and catching it. Those are things that guys can do on their own when nobody's around. The other one is holding the football in my hand like this, and then dropping it, put my hand out, and then trying to catch it again, and then doing that with both hands. So now we're always working on our eye-hand coordination, throwing it against the wall, back against my shoulder, and looking it over, and then just dropping it, hand-eye coordination, and doing those different things. If they want to start easier, they could start and drop the ball in this hand and then try and catch it in this hand, or just dropping it and catching it either way, just with a tennis ball, working on that eye-hand coordination and really focusing on catching that football. All right, so those would be some drills. Okay, I'm going to go through a play, a little bit more here. Share screen. It's off here, so which one is it? It's this one. Great. So I'm going to just share one of the plays and how we coach the pattern with our receivers and how we talk about it. I think everybody has it in their playbook, and my mentor Tommy was doing one yesterday, and I think he did this yesterday. So if anybody was listening to, I think some CFL coaches are doing it, you're going to get the exact same thing from me here, that they were doing the other day, just yesterday, I think. All right. So the play that we do is dog, and it's called double out. Dog is for double out goes. All right. So we got our double outs here, and then we got to go from the outside. All right, we have a goal from the outside. So I'm going to break it down, how we do it, how we teach it, and how we get it in. Right here on the screen is two different patterns. This one is dog, and what I'll start talking about. And then this one we just call, we label it spacing. All right, so I'm going to start with the dog. Double out, go. All right, if we had two receivers, it would just be two outs with the conversion on the outside. If it's four, we have post wheel and then double outs. Okay, so dog is double out goes, okay, with conversion rules. All right, so let's get started. First thing with us, what we do, and I think this was a June Jones thing, and I was just able to work with so many different coaches. We change our splits a little bit. It is what it is, and it's not for just that play. Maybe it's because I played this guy by the end of my career, and this guy gets split way out here and then never sees the ball. So on this play, we do bring his splits in, so then he does become a viable throw for the quarterback. Our quarterbacks can hit this, I think, at any university, and especially junior football quarterbacks can hit this. But when they're out here and you send them on an outside release go, the DB can just lay off inside because that's a King Kong throw and they think they can get to it. But here, by moving his splits in, we know we can get this. We got a shot at this and may have to honor that deep throw right there, especially if we have a speedster. And we could change it up by having him have a run to the line by putting somebody else on the ball. All right, so we'll just talk about the dog concept. First thing that we do is make sure that we have 100 outside release, and that is 100%, no questions asked. It is an outside release, and they must. And I don't care if they have to run up into the stands and get popcorn, that's what they have to do. The next thing is eyes and hips equal win. So if the DB is facing us with his eyes and hips facing us, we run it to win, because then we know we have a shot. So if he's down here or in press and his eyes, we outside release and we run it to win because we can get that shot. With us, it's about 1% of the time we will take this shot and this throw. A lot of times when we do that, we will put the try and change it up, and we might put this receiver on to give him a running start and just tell the quarterback, we're going to take this shot because we've seen something on film. But more times than not, we're not getting this, but it has to be an outside release. The other part is the quarterback or this receiver's job, and we'll teach them, is to protect the throw. All right, protect the throw, outside leverage. So if they have outside leverage or the DB is playing outside, we want to protect the throw and make sure we are running outside. So if we get a cut corner, we're trying to outside release this and get up and outside the field and get his eyes turned. All right. And if we have to, I would teach hooking his arm, hook his arm and take him with you and lift him off the board. 99% of the time, that is going to be this guy's job, and that's what he's going to do. And one of the things we would say, and I got this from Coach Condell, is take the garbage out with a smile, right? You're asked to outside release and protect your buddy and help him get the ball. Outside release and go. Get on his toes and go. The next part we talk about is this receiver right here is our next inside receiver, our slot, RY. We ask him to line up 1 to 2 yards inside the hash, and he is running an out route. All right, when it's man-to-man, it is pretty easy. It's an easy route. We got to get out, and we speed cut. All right, we also ask him for an angle release. And so you can see on this diagram, it's not straight up and out. He is pulling out right now. He has to go out right now because the quarterback is reading his man. So if he decides to go up here and dangle and dance, now that's messing up the quarterback's read. So his job is to release and attack the outside hip of that defender. We'll tell him, attack the outside hip of that low defender. If there's no defender, then he is attacking outside right now. He has no settle. He is not settling. He is going. He is out the gate and he is going about his business, and he is cleaning up the board for his inside guy. If he is going to get the ball, he is going to get the ball thrown to him outside of the numbers. That's where he will get the ball if the quarterback is going to throw to him. All right, if the quarterback reads man-to-man and he's got him, he is not going to get the ball thrown to outside the numbers. So he can make sure he gets that lateral release, gets to his gets that diagonal release, gets to 6 yards, and then he is firing out there. All right, and no settling for him. All right, this next guy, one of the keys for him on this, he's our read guy. And his big thing is, and a lot of times with our guys, what we found, and I find out over the years, is that they don't get their depth. They need to make sure, even if it is blitz, that they get their depth. They need to get all of 6 yards. All of 6 yards. Once they get to that 6 yards, man-to-man, it's time to win. You get on his toes, and it is time to win. You are getting the ball. It is time to win. How do we win? We attack the defender's technique. And what I mean by that is if he's inside, we will attack to his inside shoulder, and then we will speed cut out. We want to keep this defender, or any defender inside of us, keep him there. And just as much as if we have a defender lined up and sitting inside of us, I will teach them, and they will be taught to stare at him with his eyes as they're running their out. Give him some eye candy. Stare deep into his eyes. They get hypnotized, and then they can break into their out route, right? But they must run to win the route. They get to 6 yards, speed cut out. Once they pitter-patter, defenders get on them, and they break down on them. Speed cut at 6 yards, and then we're going to come back downhill. All right. As they come out of their break, they are to take 2 to 3 steps. And if they read zone, they take 2 to 3 steps and then give the quarterback their numbers. So if they get a defender who is sitting right here, and a defender is here, so Sam linebacker and the half. So they get a defender here, and they get a defender here. They're going to end up sitting in between them. But the reason I ask for 2 to 3 steps is because I want them to get away from this inside defender and create space, and zones move. And with our guy widening here, he's widening this guy in his zone. This zone here is going to widen, and now they end up sitting nicely in that hole, and they can sit down and give the quarterback their numbers. All right, 2 to 3 steps keeps them away from here, allows them to sit comfortably in that zone, turn, give the quarterback your numbers. All right, give them your numbers, and then the quarterback is to pin them on what shoulder he wants them to turn up to, right? The quarterback then with their throw becomes their eyes, right? And that's why it's so key for this guy to make sure he doesn't settle. If all of a sudden this guy sits down on this zone, then we know quarterback can throw this out here. All right. Okay. The next part of the play. See if I can do this. All right. Is spacing. All right. So with that, we do the next play, which is spacing. So spacing is just a play. It's just the concept that we call it. So double out goes is this. Spacing is just this call. And then we just work it. Get my pen back. Okay. So what we'll do with spacing is the X will come down, and he is OTB. He is over top of the ball. He is going to end up over top of the ball, and he is going to be first. All right. The quarterback needs him to be there first. We need him to be first because as the quarterback goes through his reads and comes back, that spacing defender needs to be right there over top of the ball. All right. Again, this also comes back to our catching drills. He is here to catch the ball. he steps back when the ball is thrown to attack the ball, get his hands out in front of him, step, catch the ball, drop step, and then get positive yards. Okay. This defender is, this receiver is second, all right, and he's going to have a -2 waggle. And what we talk about a -2 waggle is he's going to be later than he normally would be, right? He usually would be yelling at him, hit the line, hit the ball, line of scrimmage, on the snap, hit it at full speed. But when on this play, because the other receiver is going first, he gets a -2 waggle. So instead of, I like to tell them to start at about 7 yards and come downhill, he might start at 10 yards and skip to it in the middle of it. He just has to make sure he's at least 2 yards behind that first receiver. Okay, and then that would be our spacing concept. All right. Depending on the alignment of the defender, his alignment key is we want him at the top of the numbers, but he still needs to box this defender out. All right, he needs to make sure he's in position to box that defender out. So if the quarterback does come back across the screen and comes back to him, that defender is behind him, right? That defender is behind him or high or wherever he is. He needs to be between the defender and the quarterback. All right. The next thing will be, obviously we have our protection, and then we will have that spacing concept to create space, come back to our tailback on a swing route if he's not caught up in protection. And on that swing route, he will, more times than not, we don't get to it a lot, but it's open, right? And you just have to make guys aware and the quarterbacks be aware if they're going to the dog, and then they come all the way back, all right, on that play call. And that, for us, for our receivers, is how we would put in dog spacing. And that is one of our day one quick plays to go in. Biggest thing and the biggest keys for these guys on this is making sure the Z, outside release, the Y, you don't have a settle and you are radically releasing and going straight to the flats. The M, you must get your depth and attack the technique of the defender. And then you are going to, if you see green grass out of your break, you are going to green grass. If you see a defender there, then you're taking 1 to 2 steps and then settling down in that hole. X, you're first over top of the ball and you're attacking. W, you're just inside the numbers, putting yourself in between the defender and the quarterback. And then the tailback, you have the swing route. Okay. All right. So what I want to do right now is I will show you a couple clips of it, and then we'll go from there. Where is it? Oh, it should be here. Okay, sharing screen. Okay, so let's go into here. Spring camp. Corey. Oh no. Quarterback meeting, day 3. Oh, sorry. All right, let me get to the screen here. Let me see if I can see this. Should be play 15. Yeah. Play 15, Corey. Okay, here we go. This should be it right here. Oh, disappeared on me. Where'd it go? Can we see that, Coach? We good?
Yeah, we got it on this end, Coach.
Okay, perfect. All right. So on this play right here, this is dog spacing. So we got dog here. We can see what this receiver needs to do. And let's talk through it. All right, so the first thing here, this receiver, I don't know what he's doing and what he's thinking, but he should be outside releasing and going. So mistake number one. Awesome. All right, so he should be doing that and running. He might have thought it was a run play or off of a run play, which is fine, but we do that. Let's look at the second receiver here. He does a pretty good job of radically releasing, and he does by time. We're just laid off the ball here. But he does a good job of getting his width, and if he was to catch the ball, he would catch it right here. And with our inside receiver right here, does a good job here of getting up to our defender. I tell him I want him to break at 6 yards and then come downhill, but he transfers his eyes, sees green grass, and he does a really good job of what we talk about, shaving our route and coming downhill, gets his hands out. Now his job is to turn 6 into 60. And this is why I think he was laid off the ball. He might have thought it was a run play. Okay. On the back side, we have our spacing concept. Our X is coming down over top of the ball. You can see right here, our hitch route, our running back doesn't get out. He sees the ball thrown, now he goes to the ball. One of the things we do talk about on offense, we all go. Our buddies in a battle, we're all redirecting and going to the ball. And we do it in practice. Sometimes I'll run with them, and then they got to do it too. And it transfers to the game. Okay. Here we go. Here's another one. We have here, we'll start outside. Outside release. Take the garbage out with a smile. Diagonal release and getting out. Does a good job of that. Look at him go to it right now. Now I want to have him climb up to 6 and get out here. Right? 2nd and 5 or anything like that. I don't want him to catch it here and be short. So as he's releasing on his angle, get up to 6 and get out. He does a good job. The only thing he does wrong here, he sees green grass and turns his head. I want him to, right now, he should see this guy chasing this and keep running out. Right? Quarterback should spot him outside. Same thing here with the spacing over top of the ball, and we should be working. You can see our back getting out late for our swing. The guys are working and blocking downfield. All right. We have dog up here right now. Outside release, radical release. Right? I'd love for him. See how he slows down here? My read guy here. His eyes, they whip right around right now. First thing, get up to your depth. Transfer your eyes outside. You see his butt. Now you run. You chase. If you see him, you don't see his butt, then you can settle down. Because he whips his head around right now, that slows him down and makes him indecisive. 2 to 3 steps, then make your decision. Because he should be catching that thing out here. Let the quarterback sit you back down. We spacing out of another formation, right? He's still doing the job of the W of our inside receiver. So now he's going first. He's coming off and sitting there, right? So we just use the same thing, different formations, different personnel groups, right? I'd ask him to be at the top of the numbers and be here, but between him and there, he's in a good spot. Okay. You can see the guy. All right. I would ask this guy, see where he's stopping and starting to slow down? Don't look for the ball now. I need you here and over top of the ball. Because if the quarterback doesn't like this, he's coming back here to find you, not over here. Right? So the correction on this one is over top of the ball means over top of the ball. OTB is OTB. And the last part of it is, see how he's sliding into it? Get there, stop, plant yourself so now the quarterback can see you and can find you. You know, we're not sliding through the window. All right, we ran this play, I think, 3 times the first 3 plays of the year last year, first play of the game. So this was the third. Yeah, I think this was the 3rd game. So Western had snuffed it. You know, they have game plan for it, and we thought going into the game, are we going to put it in? Are we not going to put it in? Are we going to run it? Are we not going to run it? Let's run it. Right? So we do a pretty good job up top, outside release. He does a good job of coming off diagonally and radically releasing and getting outside and taking his man with you. But my man here drags his feet at 3 yards, comes into the ground, and then gets his head back too quick. If he gets to 6 yards, it's going to hold him a little bit more, and speed cuts out of it, and he'll see this. Now he's running away from it. Because he does that, slows him down, quarterback thinks he's slowing down, tries to sit him down, and then that's how we get it knocked down. If he kept running, he'd have got the ball out here. Okay. Again, on this side, OTB on the spacing, and look at us. This is absolutely picture perfect between ourselves, the defender, and the ball. He's in a great spot right here if the quarterback wants to come back. Say the quarterback goes here, doesn't like this, comes back to here, they drive on it, comes back to here, and we pick it up. Guess who's open? And we just got to throw it once or twice. All right, and the running back's going for deep. Running back catches it here, he'll turn and block. Running back's one-on-one with this, and his job is to make one miss anyway. I'll show you one more, and then so this is 4-man dog. All right, so now I said 4-man, we'll move our splits out, we'll go post wheel, and then inside we still have our same rules. All right, we still have our same rules inside. Radically releasing, they're clearing off the top. He sees this guy, and now he can release wide and get the ball 6 into 60, get up the field. All right, show it again. And then he can get up the field. All right. So the biggest thing with us with dog, and if we were running it this year and doing it again, putting it in, the teaching points for us would be, especially for that read guy, make sure you have your 2 to 3 steps so you could see and get your read. Yeah. He catches the ball and goes up. For our read guy on that, it would be one of the most important things would be making sure we're getting our 2 to 3 steps, taking a look at the ball, taking a look outside before we look back to the quarterback. Outside guy, making sure no matter what, we are outside releasing. Our number 2 receiver, we're radically releasing to 6 yards, and then you're not going to catch the ball till outside the numbers. That is all I have. I have more film, obviously, but that's what I have. I'd be the same thing, dog, and I know all of a sudden we get in coach's mode and I'm rocking and rolling and feeling good and just moving. But that's the basis of, coaching the wide receivers, fundamentals of catching the ball. We do the drills every day. They have their everyday drills that they do use. And then we make sure that they're transferring them into the game because that's important. If we're doing drills that don't transfer into the game, then there's no point in doing the drill. All right, and then with the play that I just showed you, that is a day 1 bread and butter. If it is, don't know what to call that, and the guy should be able to do it in their sleep. Thank you, and hopefully I didn't talk too long.
No, that's real good, Coach Grant. Quick question I have about that spacing combination on the backside. When you are having the inside receiver as a tight end, in your mind, you guys see that the timing of his release is about the same as his minus waggle?
Yes. Yeah, it's about the same. And with him, it all depends on where they line up on him. With the defenders are lining up on him. So we know we're not getting back to him late, so he has time. But yeah, when the tight end is on like that and he's nubbed on and we're running it with the tight end, yeah, it times up exactly the same. And even for him, with the receiver, being off the line of scrimmage, it's never been an issue.
No, that's fantastic. We got a couple questions to get through. If you got a couple minutes.
Okay, I do have minutes, and I'm
Yeah.
bringing out the gold just in case to make sure everybody's okay. Let's go.
Exactly. Well, let's check this out. First one is asking, do you work on any one-handed catches, or are you always working on two-handed catches?
I do work on one-handed catches. I think it's important, so we'll do a sideline tap drill where we'll have the guys running outs and to the sideline, and then reaching out and catching with one hand. Obviously, keeping their eyes on the ball the entire time, but we do that. I think it's important for them to work on those, because you get into a game, you want to make sure that they have the ability to make those catches.
Awesome. Any quick tips or advice on blocking? A little bit off topic here, but anything that is to your core beliefs?
Yeah. It's funny when I do these, or I'm asked to do receivers, because I did play, but I coach. I'm a coordinator now, so I have a receiver coach. When I was with the Cats, I coach running backs. So blocking is my forte. I could give you a whole presentation on blocking from the running back position, because that's what I do and that's what I know. I played receivers and I can coach them, but at every level I've coached is running back. So blocking, yes. Blocking, biggest thing is making sure they work. We like to be making sure they're breaking down. Coming to balance is the other one. Breaking down 2 to 3 yards away from the defender. Coming to balance, right? Arms inside and nice and tight. And I always use the analogy of Mike Tyson. I might have to change it to a new boxer, but punching uppercut. We want to go uppercut, and that keeps them away from lunging, right? Because as soon as, because I coach running backs, as soon as they lunge, they get pulled and then end up on their face. Let the DB take the DB where he wants to go, right? I know it's different philosophies of, well, try and turn them and do that. Yeah, if the guy's trying to get outside, that is awesome to do and to work those. And on certain screens, you want to make sure you're positioned inside and stuff. But if you hit him square, and then if you feel him going outside and you ride him now outside in that direction, a good ball carrier should be able to cut off of that. Right? Because if I'm a wide receiver, and the reason I say that is if I'm a wide receiver or a half or a slot, and that halfback, they're trained to set the sideline. So they're going to push outside. So now all of a sudden you're fighting them and they're trying to get outside. And now you're creating that indecisiveness for the ball carrier. Good ball carriers will be able to cut off of that. If he wants to create the wall outside, drive him out there, make a new wall, and then let him cut off you. Hopefully that answered it. But I could go all day on blocking, because I could probably pull up a presentation right now on blocking. So that's my wheelhouse. But,
well, we might have to get you back on in the future to get that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I do want to say this. Actually, we've got one more coming in here. Do you have a drill book with your favorite drills? Do you have your own drill book?
I do have drills that I do use. Like now, for receivers, I don't. Running backs, I have certain drills that I like to do and that I do use. Receivers, for me, just because I haven't coached it as my specific home in, this is what I've been doing. A lot of it is from what I know and I personally liked, which is always a good thing. And things that I've learned from other receiver coaches like June Jones. June, I will say this, June didn't do a lot of receiver drills. He would just make sure that they caught the ball every single day and they would catch it. We would do mesh drill. We would do the freeze drill, and they were just constantly catching the ball. And I think that's one of the most important things, is to make sure that the receivers are doing that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Coach Grant. You know, I do want to pay you a compliment. I've really enjoyed this presentation, because it's gone from, you know, really breaking it down to the fundamentals of the eyes, the hands, the elbows, and the art of catching. Okay. And it's something that we talk about with all of our athletes, from minor, including pros, is that, and you said it early on, and I want to reemphasize it. A lot of the best players are the ones that do the little things better than everybody else, right? And I always use the analogy, there's lots of guys that are either sitting on the couch, sitting in the stands, or watching on TV guys that they may be faster than or jump higher than or stronger than, but focusing on the fundamentals and the important minute aspects of each art of the position is extremely important. So I really enjoyed listening to this and how you're breaking that down.
Yeah, and even to go on that even more is because sometimes we just forget. And even for us, like myself as a coordinator, it's like I just want to get into the plays and execute the game and do that. But even when we talk to recruits, we have to go back, because my biggest fear, and it helped us this year, is whatever we do in August, if we were to start, I want it for them to not even think about it come November when we're playing in the championship. It's just got to be second nature. So one of our coaches, it's our everyday drills, it's our daily vitamins that they have to take every single day. And as boring as it is, they just I want them to say, Coach, I'm tired of doing this drill, so that when they get into a game, that fundamental is just what they do. And then they can count on that. Because in the end, as we know as coaches, they're going to go back to what they know. And if they're top poor fundamentals, crucial time, I'm going to throw that kid that ball, and he's not going to feel comfortable putting the ball, his hands in where they need to be to make that catch.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sticking around
I'm here.
A little extra time. We'll be back at it next week with Coach Scott McCauley and Coach Shards. He'll be talking some line play. So Coach Grant, again.
Hold on. I want to make sure I'm the best presentation, even if the presentation was bad and you guys want to sleep and do all that. I just, and whether you got, so I just have to bring that out. Right? Hold on. I got to make sure I get it in. I got to put it in the video. So just in case, I don't live out there, but I was there. Right? So I was there. So I had to. I don't wear it or take.
There you go. You may have got a couple of screenshots of that right there.
Oh, did I? I'll leave it. I don't know.
Appreciate you, Coach. Take care. All the best when you guys get up and running again, and hopefully it's sometime sooner rather than later.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your time and your patience. And hey, appreciate you asking me to do this. It was fun.